Emily Rhodes wasn't the kind of woman who disappeared without reason. A 29-year-old graphic designer, married for 5 years, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Oregon. Neighbors described her as calm, polite, and always walking her golden retriever right on time every morning. Her husband, Michael Rhodes, a local high school teacher, called her the steady hand that kept everything in their lives together. But everything changed on the night of October 5th. That morning had been unremarkable. Emily attended a remote design meeting from her home office, placed a grocery order, and even commented on a friend's Facebook post about fall recipes. Nothing out of the ordinary. Until later that night when she simply vanished. At 12:07 a.m., Michael made a call to 911. His voice was tight, shaking. "My wife's missing. I woke up and she wasn't in bed. The front door's open. She's not answering her phone." Within hours, the police were at their doorstep. A missing persons report was filed. But the case didn't stay ordinary for long. Because just hours later, they found the footage. Mounted just above the front porch was a discreet security camera Michael had installed a few months earlier, following a string of local break-ins. The footage from the night Emily vanished was quickly retrieved. What it captured changed the entire trajectory of the case. Timestamp, 11:43 p.m. Emily appears on camera. She's wearing a long white sleep shirt and walking barefoot. The porch light is on. Her expression is blank, like she's in a trance. She opens the front door slowly and steps outside. She doesn't look back. That's when the first strange detail appears. Just before she crosses the edge of the camera frame, she pauses. Her head tilts slightly as if she heard something, or someone. And then she disappears into the night. That was the last confirmed sighting of Emily Rhodes. When the footage was shown to the public days later, viewers around the world were struck by how eerie the clip felt. Not because of dramatic action, but because of how calm everything seemed, and how unsettling that calm truly was. Police scoured the area, checking surveillance from nearby homes, stores, and traffic cams. There was no trace of her. No ping from her phone. No credit card activity. No goodbye note. Just one person walking into the night, and never coming back. Michael told investigators he had gone to bed around 10:30 p.m. He said Emily had told him she would join him shortly after finishing a work project. But when he woke around midnight and saw the bed empty, he panicked. But investigators noted something odd in his account. He said he hadn't heard the front door open. Not the creak. Not the beep of the security system disabling. Not the footsteps. Nothing. Police grew concerned. Was she truly alone when she left that house? The community rallied. Flyers with Emily's face covered light poles, coffee shop windows, and digital billboards. Friends organized searches through nearby woods and parks. But days turned into weeks and still, no sign of her. Then, on October 19th, something new emerged. A local tech-savvy volunteer had managed to stabilize and enhance a copy of the porch footage. It was slightly clearer. Less pixelated. And in that updated version, a strange detail surfaced. Exactly 1 second before Emily turns her head, a blurred shape briefly appears in the background, behind the bushes near the driveway. Was it a person? An animal? A trick of the shadows? Investigators weren't sure. But for those who had been watching closely, it was the first real lead. The footage became a national talking point. TikTokers analyzed it frame by frame. YouTubers created theories. Reddit threads dissected the shadowy blur and Emily's body language in minute detail. One question kept surfacing. What made Emily walk out of that door? And more hauntingly, did she even plan to return? As the footage spread and speculation grew, Michael stopped speaking to the media. His last statement was brief. "I just want my wife home. Please, if anyone knows anything, please come forward." But public opinion was beginning to turn. Some wondered, how could a woman just vanish like that, without help? 2 days after Emily Rhodes vanished, the initial panic turned into an unbearable quiet. The kind that makes people start talking. Friends came forward. Coworkers shared screenshots. And soon, a new side of Emily began to emerge, one that cast everything in a different light. It started with a text message. Sent at 11:37 p.m., just 6 minutes before she walked out of her home and disappeared. It was addressed to her best friend, Leah. "I'll explain everything soon. Just wait for me." Leah told investigators she hadn't seen Emily in over a week. The message came as a shock. She didn't sound scared, she said. But she didn't sound like herself either. There was something off. Police retrieved Emily's phone records. In the 3 days leading up to her disappearance, she had received 6 calls from a blocked number, all under 2 minutes. She hadn't answered any of them. But the most curious find came from her Google search history. Investigators discovered she had looked up phrases like, "How to disappear without being found," "What happens when a phone is turned off during tracking?" "Private bus terminals near Portland." This painted a far more complicated picture than her quiet, suburban life had ever suggested. Then there was the Facebook post. One day before she vanished, Emily had updated her profile picture and added a caption, something she rarely did. Read, "Some secrets should stay buried." No one knew what she meant. Leah said Emily had been distant lately, missing Zoom calls, skipping weekend hangouts. "I asked if everything was okay," Leah told reporters. "She said she was just tired. But I think she was scared." Back at the Rhodes home, detectives searched for physical signs of distress. A struggle, a note, anything. But the house was pristine. Except for one strange detail. A shoebox tucked beneath Emily's side of the bed. Inside were printouts of emails, dated over the past year. Some were receipts. Some were digital newsletter subscriptions. But 5 stood out. They were emails from an unknown sender, using a masked Proton mail address. Each one had a short subject line. "Why didn't you tell him? He doesn't know everything. You left something behind. I'm still watching. Time's up." The emails had no body text. Just those chilling subject lines. The last one was dated October 5, 8:01 p.m., just hours before Emily disappeared. Police now had more than a missing persons case. They had a digital trail that hinted at blackmail, or something far worse. They issued a subpoena for Proton Mail records, but the platform's strict privacy policies offered little hope. Investigators were hitting a wall. Meanwhile, Michael Rhodes grew quieter. He stopped attending public searches and began turning down requests for follow-up interviews. The public began to whisper, was he hiding something? But Leah defended him publicly. "He's grieving," she said. "He loved her. But Emily had secrets. And I think they were catching up to her." That suspicion gained weight when the security footage was analyzed again, this time by a behavioral analyst. Dr. Karen Wolf, a retired FBI profiler, gave her opinion during a podcast interview. Emily's body language in that video isn't aimless. She's not sleepwalking. She's alert. She pauses, turns, listens. That's someone expecting something, or someone. Then she added something chilling. People don't just walk barefoot into the night unless they're running, or being drawn. The case had no shortage of theories. Some believed she was trying to start a new life, that the text to Leah was a goodbye of sorts. Others believed she had been lured outside, possibly by whoever had been emailing her. But none of those theories explained why there had been no confirmed sightings, no surveillance captures, and no movement on her bank accounts. Her digital footprint had gone cold. Until a breakthrough came from a place no one expected. A bus station security guard 2 towns over. He called the tip line anonymously, saying he thought he recognized the woman from the news. Claimed she came in late that night, October 5th, around midnight, asking for directions. She was barefoot, confused, and said someone was supposed to meet her. But when shown a photograph of Emily, he couldn't say for sure it was her. Was it really Emily? Or someone else entirely? As the lead fizzled out, a new clue emerged. Emily's old tablet, recovered from a storage box in the attic, still linked to her cloud drive, had recently synced. It uploaded a single, strange file. A voice memo recorded 2 days before she disappeared. It's barely audible, muffled by wind and static. But her voice is unmistakable. "If anything happens to me, please don't trust everything you see. Some people wear masks, and not all of them are strangers." Then the audio cuts out. That voice note changed everything. Emily Rhodes wasn't just missing. She was trying to send a message. 3 weeks after Emily Rhodes vanished, a digital forensics team revisited the now infamous doorbell footage, the last known sighting of her. They slowed the frames down, analyzed every second. What had once seemed like an ordinary late-night walk, barefoot, silent, disappearing into the darkness, now felt calculated, deliberate. And then they found something that had been missed the first time. At the 11:44:02 p.m. mark, just seconds before Emily stepped off the porch, a shadow flickered in the corner of the frame. At first glance, it looked like a trick of the light. But frame-by-frame playback showed otherwise. It was the silhouette of a person, partially obscured behind a hedge near the sidewalk. They weren't moving. Just standing there. Watching. The security expert brought in to analyze the video, Victor Ramirez, pointed it out clearly. Whoever that is, they're not supposed to be there. And Emily sees them. Watch her pause. She looks directly in that direction before she steps forward. That detail changed the narrative. Emily wasn't wandering. She was approaching someone. Which begged the question, who was waiting for her? Detectives canvassed the neighborhood again. This time they knocked on doors past the 4-house radius. A resident 2 blocks away had a motion-triggered backyard camera that pointed toward the street. That camera caught something odd. At 11:55 p.m., 11 minutes after Emily walked off camera, a black SUV turned down the street and paused by the sidewalk. Its headlights went off for exactly 60 seconds. Then it drove away, no plates visible, no identifiable markings. Investigators cross-referenced traffic footage and found no matching vehicles registered to anyone in the area. Even stranger, the SUV didn't pass any of the outbound intersections with visible license plate readers. It was as if it disappeared. Meanwhile, back at the Rhodes home, Michael Rhodes was asked to come in for a second, longer interview. This time the tone was different. Less sympathy, more scrutiny. Investigators had found inconsistencies in his timeline. He said he went to bed at 11:15 p.m. But his phone connected to the home Wi-Fi at 11:49 p.m., meaning it was in active use, just minutes after Emily walked out the door. And GPS logs from the phone showed a brief disconnect from the Wi-Fi at 11:47 p.m., indicating he likely stepped outside. When asked, Michael claimed he got up to check a noise in the backyard. But his story didn't match what the footage showed. Detectives began to wonder, was he lying? Or just grieving in chaos? As they dug deeper, they found something else. A second security camera hidden above the garage. This one hadn't been synced with the rest of the smart home system and wasn't disclosed initially. When asked about it, Michael said he forgot it even existed. It had been there when they bought the house. It was old, disconnected, and he thought it didn't work anymore. But the hard drive was still functional. After recovering the data, investigators reviewed the footage. And there, just before 11:44 p.m., it caught something the doorbell cam had missed entirely. Emily stepped onto the porch. She paused, looking into the distance. And then, she mouthed something. Over and over. Barely audible on the garage mic, but just enough to isolate. Please, not now. Please. Then a whisper. A voice not hers. You said you would. And then, silence. That discovery sent chills through everyone watching. Emily wasn't alone. She wasn't just meeting someone. She was being pressured. Possibly forced. And she was scared. This new lead reignited public interest. Online sleuths flooded forums with theories, some logical, others unhinged. That Emily was part of a witness protection program gone wrong. That she had faked her own disappearance to escape abuse. That she had uncovered something dangerous, and someone wanted to silence her. But one theory began to gain traction. The man in the shadow was someone she knew. Because just 2 days before she vanished, Emily had sent an encrypted message to a private email account belonging to a local IT consultant, Jeremy Fields, a name that didn't appear in any of her social media or phone contacts. Jeremy was a former colleague from years ago. Someone she briefly worked with before marrying Michael. Police found out that Emily had visited his co-working office the week prior, unannounced and without telling anyone. Jeremy initially claimed it was about recovering files from an old laptop. But when pressed further, he changed his story. She said she needed help wiping something, he admitted. She looked panicked. Like she knew someone was watching her. When asked if he knew who might have been watching her, Jeremy hesitated. She told me she was being followed. But not by a stranger. Someone she used to trust. That statement opened a new line of investigation. Was someone from Emily's past orchestrating this? Or was it someone right beside her the whole time? With conflicting witness accounts and cryptic video evidence, investigators now faced more questions than answers. Who was in the shadow? What was said off camera? And why did Emily seem resigned, almost like she knew this was coming? The mystery deepened when a missing persons alert from 2 states overmatched someone resembling Emily. But when they arrived, it wasn't her. Just another dead end. Back in the Rhodes neighborhood, neighbors stopped talking. Curtains stayed drawn. A silent fear spread. Someone among them might know more than they were saying. And all the while, the black SUV had yet to be found. Emily Rhodes had always seemed like an open book. To her friends, she was warm, easy to talk to, and never one to keep secrets. She organized neighborhood potlucks, volunteered at the local shelter, and kept a spotless social media profile filled with pictures of sunsets, coffee dates, and her husband, Michael. But beneath the surface, investigators were starting to uncover a very different Emily, one whose digital trail told a story no one saw coming. After obtaining a subpoena, detectives accessed her private email accounts, ones that Michael didn't even know existed. Among the emails were encrypted threads, password-protected folders, and drafts that had never been sent. Most shocking was a file titled, Contingency. It was password-protected, and it took forensic experts nearly 2 weeks to decrypt. Inside were audio recordings. Emily's voice, calm but trembling. In one file, dated just 6 days before she vanished, she said, "If you're listening to this, then something's gone wrong. I didn't just leave. I was taken, or worse. And it has to do with what I found. I can't say it directly. But he knows. And he's not who everyone thinks he is." The file ended there. Investigators were stunned. Who was he? Michael? Jeremy? Someone else? The tone in her voice wasn't vague panic, it was specific fear. She knew what she was risking. Next came the phone records. Emily had called a burner number 3 times the week before she disappeared. That number, when traced, was linked to a SIM card purchased under a fake name in another state. The same SIM was used to message her a single sentence 2 nights before she went missing. "You have 2 days to decide." Decide what? What was she involved in? Jeremy Fields, the IT consultant, was brought in for further questioning. He admitted something else. She asked if I could ghost her. Create a digital footprint that made it seem like she left the country. Jeremy never went through with it, at least that's what he claimed. But Emily's actions made more sense now. She wasn't spiraling. She was planning something. She was preparing to disappear, or protect herself. But from whom? At the same time, neighbors began reporting odd occurrences in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. A black SUV seen idling on the street several nights. A man knocking on random doors asking for Becca, claiming he had the wrong house but never leaving his name. A neighbor's dog barking nonstop around 11:45 p.m. every night for a week straight, right around the time Emily would usually lock up for the night. The events were brushed off at the time. Now they were clues. Detectives expanded the search. They pulled traffic cam data from 5 counties. Eventually they found it, the black SUV again, on a highway 30 miles out of town just 1 hour after Emily disappeared. Inside the vehicle? Still unknown. The plates were still untraceable, likely stolen. But the vehicle took a rural exit known for long stretches of abandoned farmlands and wooded trails. A search party was dispatched. For 3 days they combed the area with dogs, drones, and volunteers. And then they found something. Not a body, but a phone. Smashed. Burnt. But not beyond recovery. And it matched the last known GPS location of Emily's phone, before it went dead. Inside the phone's SIM card were several deleted texts. One had been partially recovered. Read. "I think he knows. I heard something in the garage. I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm scared." The text was never sent. The search took on new urgency. Everyone began to wonder, was this still a missing person case, or was it a cover-up? The FBI joined the investigation. For the first time, they considered the possibility that Emily had been surveilled for weeks before she vanished. That someone had access to her emails, phone logs, and knew exactly when she'd be alone. Michael, once seen as a grieving husband, now became the center of scrutiny again. But despite suspicions, no physical evidence linked him to her disappearance. His fingerprints weren't on the phone. No blood, no signs of forced entry, and no proof he'd left the house that night, aside from the suspicious Wi-Fi disconnect. Still, his alibi felt fragile, built on time gaps and assumptions. And then, a new tip. A woman named Marissa Calloway, who worked with Emily 3 years earlier, came forward with something chilling. "Emily once confided in me that she felt like someone was watching her. This was months before she even met Michael. She said someone from her past was back. Someone she used to be involved with, who wasn't supposed to know where she lived." This man's name? Graham Keller. A name Emily had never mentioned to her husband. A name missing from all her public records. But a name that now sat at the center of a rapidly evolving investigation. Graham had a history. And his file was about to open a dark chapter that would change everything investigators thought they knew about Emily Rhodes. The name Graham Keller didn't appear on any of Emily Rhodes' social media profiles. Not in her call logs. Not even in her email contacts. But once his name surfaced, a hidden part of Emily's past began to unravel. Graham wasn't just an ex-boyfriend. He was a man with a record, one that spanned 3 states and included charges for stalking, domestic violence, and breaking restraining orders. He had last been seen publicly over 4 years ago, around the time Emily moved to a new city, changed her job and began building a life with Michael. Detectives began to wonder, had Emily been running this whole time? Court documents, sealed until now, revealed something chilling. Emily had filed a restraining order against Graham in 2018. She cited repeated harassment, unexpected appearances at her workplace, and threats made through burner accounts. One line in the affidavit stood out. He said he'd never let me be happy without him. That if I ever tried to disappear, he'd still find me. The restraining order expired 2 years ago. No one had heard from Graham since. Until now. Investigators combed through surveillance archives and ran facial recognition on recent footage from the gas station and highway cameras. And then a match. 3 days before Emily's disappearance, a man resembling Graham was seen entering a hardware store in a town just 20 miles away. He bought a burner phone, a utility knife, a roll of duct tape, and gloves, all paid for in cash. No car, no ID, no known address. But one security cam caught him glancing up at the camera and smirking. A bolo, "Be on the lookout," was issued. Tips began flooding in from across the state. One woman in a nearby town reported that a man matching Graham's description had asked about a woman named Emily while hanging around a local coffee shop. He claimed they were old friends. That was 5 days before Emily vanished. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Michael was no longer the only one under the microscope. Now the focus was on a ghost from Emily's past, a man with a motive, a history, and the chilling patience to wait years before striking. Michael, upon hearing the news, appeared blindsided. Graham? She never said a word about him. If I'd known, God, if I'd known, maybe I could have protected her. But investigators weren't convinced. Emily's encrypted audio message, "He knows," could have referred to Michael or Graham, or maybe even someone else entirely. One thing was certain. Emily had been afraid. And now a pattern was emerging. Meanwhile, the burnt phone found in the rural area began yielding more data. Forensic experts reconstructed several deleted photos. One in particular stood out. It showed a trailhead sign, worn down by weather, partially obscured by branches. Investigators matched it to a hiking trail near the abandoned farmlands, a place few people visited anymore. Using GPS metadata from the photo, authorities zeroed in on a small wooden shed, tucked behind thick overgrowth. They found it 2 days later. Inside the shed, an empty thermos, a cigarette lighter, rope freshly cut, and most chilling, a pink scarf, matching one Emily was wearing in a photo taken 2 weeks before she disappeared. Forensics confirmed, the scarf belonged to Emily. But there was no sign of her. No blood. No fingerprints. No body. Just an overwhelming sense that something had happened there. Something that didn't end well. Then a twist no one expected. Jeremy Fields, the IT consultant, was arrested. Not for Emily's disappearance, but for tampering with surveillance footage. Investigators discovered he had accessed the home's footage logs hours before handing them over, and had deleted a 30-second clip. Under pressure, Jeremy confessed. "Emily begged me to erase it. She said it would only make things worse if it ever came out. She told me, if something happens to me, just show them everything else, but not that." The missing clip? Still unrecovered. Jeremy claimed he never saved it. But why would Emily want it hidden, unless it implicated someone she feared more than anything? The search continued. The trail led deeper into Graham's past, and the secrets Emily had fought so hard to keep buried. What had she discovered that made her voice tremble in those recordings? Was she trying to expose someone? Was Graham just one piece in a much darker puzzle? And most importantly, was Emily still alive? Because something about this case still didn't add up. And what they found next would turn the investigation upside down. It was a quiet morning when investigators got the call. A hiker had stumbled upon something strange near the abandoned trailhead previously marked in Emily's recovered photo. Buried beneath a pile of damp leaves and broken branches was a partially buried duffel bag. Inside, personal belongings that hadn't been seen since the day Emily vanished. Her wallet. Her journal. And at the very bottom, a flash drive wrapped in plastic. Forensic experts immediately went to work on it. What they found on the drive would change everything. The single video file was shaky, recorded in low light. The timestamp read 2 days before Emily disappeared. In it, Emily sat in her car, speaking directly to the camera. Her voice was quiet, but firm. "If you're seeing this, something's happened to me. I've kept quiet for so long. Too long. But I can't anymore. She went on to explain that Graham had found her, that he had been tracking her for months, and that he wasn't acting alone. She paused, then mentioned something no one saw coming. Michael doesn't know I found out, but I overheard a phone call between him and Graham. They're planning something. I don't know what, but I need someone to believe me. It shattered the narrative. Michael, the grieving husband, the concerned spouse, was suddenly thrust back into the spotlight. Investigators reopened his phone records and discovered an encrypted messaging app installed and deleted days after Emily vanished. The recovery team retrieved fragments of messages. One line stood out. "She's starting to put it together. Handle it." Michael was arrested the next day. Under interrogation, Michael admitted he had been in contact with Graham, but claimed it was about debt. That Graham had threatened him, used Emily as leverage and manipulated him for months. He insisted he never wanted Emily to get hurt. But prosecutors didn't buy it. The case is now pending trial. Graham remains at large and a nationwide manhunt is underway. As for Emily, her body has never been found. Some believe she was taken into the woods and buried deep, never to be discovered. Others believe she may have escaped, injured, disoriented, living under a new identity. And then there are those who hold out hope that Emily is still out there waiting for justice. Because even now, after all the revelations, so many questions remain unanswered. Why didn't Emily go to the police sooner? What did she know that made her feel unsafe with both Michael and Graham? And is it possible that someone else is still out there watching? If you have any information related to this story, even the smallest detail, it could make a difference. Sometimes the truth hides in plain sight. Sometimes justice needs a voice. And sometimes it starts with you. Folded hands, medium skin tone. Thank you for watching. If you found this story gripping, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next case. Because here, the truth is always worth uncovering. Share this video, spread the word, and help keep Emily's story alive. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious,